Welcome back to American Ground Radio's 4th of July special, What Makes America Great? I'm Stephen Parr with Louis R. Avalone.
You know, the Supreme Court case that made famous the phrase that the states, our individual states, are all the laboratories of democracies.
Right.
The direct quote is, a single courageous state may, if its citizens choose, serve as a laboratory and try novel and social and economic experiments without risk to the rest of the country.
Which one of the brilliant aspects of federalism. That's part of why the system works.
But yet you had the President of the United States talking about basically, I mean, these are independent, sovereign states
They are.
that decided to lift their COVID-19 restrictions or relax them at the very least.
Yes.
And President Biden, the President of the United States, decided to call the governors of those states guilty of Neanderthal thinking.
And yet, it turns out that the states that lifted the restrictions earlier were doing better, both in terms of economics and in terms of the disease, than the ones that stayed locked down longer.
So our next guest, however, lashed out at President Biden, saying Mississippians don't need handlers. As numbers drops, they can assess their choices and listen to the experts. I guess I just think we should trust Americans, not insult them. I love that.
I do love that. I also, we're talking with Governor Tate Reeves from the state of Mississippi. The Mississippi River, the largest navigable river in the world that is all within the borders of one country. That's one thing. There are 20 different states that either border the Mississippi or its tributaries or have their rivers flow into the Mississippi system. It is dramatically important to the country. And as we're going through our 4th of July special, What Makes America Great, we're actually going to take a tour up the Mississippi. We're going to start in Mississippi, we'll go to Tennessee, and then we'll end up in Kentucky for the rest of this hour. Does that sound like a good plan?
Sure. Is it a paddle wheeler or?
Sure. You know, for nostalgia times, we'll do it the Mark Twain way. Well, coming up right now, Mississippi Governor Tate Reeves.
America,
and joining us now, Mississippi Governor Tate Reeves. Thank you so much for joining us on American Ground Radio's 4th of July special, What Makes America Great?
Well, thank you, Stephen and Louis. Appreciate y'all having me on today.
Governor, we've been asking folks all morning, all day, what is it that you think makes America great?
Well, America is the greatest country in the history of mankind. And the reason it's the greatest country in the history of mankind is because America is the land of opportunity. I often tell the story that you really only have to have three things in America. You've got to have, number one, a willingness to dream big. Number two, you've got to have the intelligence to go and actually develop a plan to accomplish your big dreams. And then third, you got to have the want to, the work ethic to go and make it happen. And if you can do those three things, you can accomplish anything you want to accomplish in America. And the fact of the matter is, that's just simply not true in so many countries around the world.
And how did you learn those lessons? What was it about your upbringing that really taught that to you?
Well, I was blessed to grow up in a home with two loving parents. My dad experienced the American dream as much as anybody in America. He grew up as one of 11. He had 5 brothers and 5 sisters. They grew up in a 2-room house in Boga Chitto, Mississippi. And he went to high school. He put himself through community college. He put himself through senior college. And he started a small business back in the early 1970s. And for the last almost 50 years, he's been growing that small business and been successful at doing so. And so he raised both my brother and I to understand that, number one, work ethic is critical, absolutely critical. And that's what we have in America is we have a lot of people who love our country and a lot of people who are willing to work to accomplish their dreams. And he taught me at an early age that, you know, it's easy to dream the small stuff, but it takes a little something extra if you really want to dream big. And so he taught me to dream big, and I was blessed to have a great educational upbringing, which gave me the intellect to accomplish my intention of developing a plan to be successful in life. And growing up in a small town in a place like Mississippi, you learn work ethic because your parents make you. And I've just been blessed in all of those ways.
Yeah, upbringing, Governor, is so critical. But kind of going back to your childhood, do you remember, obviously you love this country, do you remember when it was that you realized that there was something special about America, something exceptional about this place we call the United States of America?
Well, it's funny that you asked. I was just thinking the other day. So I was born in 1974, and that made me 6 or 7 when President Reagan was sworn into office. And so when I first became interested in the political world, was really during the middle of the Cold War and the approach that Reagan took leading America. And it's just really something that I look back on and see having a patriotic president like President Reagan certainly is something that jumps out at me as I think back to my childhood. I can't necessarily remember what I had for lunch yesterday, but I can certainly remember the patriotic speeches and the way in which Reagan led our country. And so I was at a young age. It got me not only interested in politics and in government, it also certainly helped lead me to being the patriotic American that I am today.
Governor, you're talking about President Reagan, and in his farewell address, he asked, are we doing a good enough job telling our kids what America is and what she represents in the long history of the world? You talked about a work ethic. You talk about having a desire, and if you have those two things, you can accomplish pretty much what you want in America. Are we teaching that to our kids?
Well, I'm not sure we're doing a good enough job of it in every state across this nation. It concerns me, and it's something that we talk a lot about. I believe in American exceptionalism. I also believe in reality, and I think we have to be honest and say, within one of the things that makes America so great is our diversity, and one of the things that makes America so great is the fact that we've had a complicated past. We've had a complicated history, but we've overcome it. We're a better nation today because of it. And look, no one fights political battles more so than I do, and I wholeheartedly disagree with many in the opposing party on so many different policies, but I've never seen them as my enemy. I see them as people who are perhaps hopefully wanting the same things that I want. They just have a different path in which to get there. But at the end of the day, I believe in American exceptionalism, and I believe that we will win in the end.
Governor, you're touching on Ronald Reagan again. He referred to Tip O'Neill as his friend. Our friends on the left, not enemies. He never saw the opposition party as an enemy. How do we make sure that spirit continues? Because the country seems pretty divided right now, where it's, a lot of folks think that people in the other party, regardless of the party, is their enemy.
Well, there's no doubt about that, and I think that's unfortunate. I do believe that most all Americans want what's best for the United States, and I'm hopeful that we can move away from the politics of division and recognize that we've got to govern. And look, it's been difficult, particularly the last 6 months, given the far left policies that some have wanted to enact. I think that that's not what the country needs right now, and we're going to fight vehemently in the political sphere, which is very different than other avenues. And the way in which you fight in the political sphere is by convincing the American people that the policies you want to enact and the policies that you want to put in place are what's best for America. Because ultimately, that's who's going to win the political debate. And I believe those of us that are conservatives have the right policies. We've just got to make sure we convince our fellow Americans of that.
Governor Tate Reeves from the great state of Mississippi, thank you so much for joining us on American Ground Radio's 4th of July special. And happy 4th of July to you, Governor.
Happy 4th of July to you and all of the rest of the great United States of America.